Hello, dear attendees. I'm Saha. I'm today's seminar host, and I'm speaking to you from Rome, Italy.
Recording in progress.
Can everyone hear me well? Let me know if you have got, thank you, if you have got any problems, technical issues now and also throughout the conference and presentations. I would like to thank you all for joining this webinar. Special thanks go to our board of trustees, Professor Hamadani, Professor Dereje, Professor Chris, Professor Swati, Professor Box, and Professor Fernando. I would like to thank you all for joining this webinar again. And if you have any question, please kindly wait until the end of each presentation, because we will have 10 minutes for Q&A session. And also, I would like to highlight that the attendees should email their full names in order to receive their certificates. And I want one of my colleagues just to share the email for more information on chat. Thank you so much. The webinar actually is held by VWI and SIMS jointly about the role of virtual reality in education. I am pleased to inform you all about these two professional institutes. The Virtual World Institute, VWI, is the world's first VR-focused educational institute registered in Indiana, United States. This institute is an innovative educational institution that merges the pedagogical strengths of both traditional universities and online universities through immersive virtual reality technology. And in VWI, students have the opportunity to engage in a comprehensive learning experience that transcends physical boundaries. Also, we have got the Swiss Institute of Management and Science, SIMS, which was established in Zug in accordance with Swiss law as a private higher education institution. And this institute is located in a modern building in Zug, Switzerland. SIMS is the historical continuity of Switzerland and Europe, outstanding university background, providing students with an extremely pleasant and attractive environment in which to study in ideal conditions. With its partnerships with public and private universities and UNESCO, SIMS organizes academic exchanges such as research, seminars, professor and student exchanges. In session one, with a great pleasure, I want to invite Mr. Nick Bosieta. But first, I'm privileged to introduce Mr. Nick Bosieta. As the managing director and co-founder of Liminal VR, Nick Bosieta is a leader of award-winning neuroscience-based VR/AR studio based in Melbourne, Australia. A former commercial lawyer, entrepreneur, and international speaker, Nick has overseen a bleeding-edge research and development program, pioneering a new product category and a bleeding-edge research and development programs, as I said, of immersive experience focused on using XR technologies to induce emotional and cognitive states. Liminal's flagship product is the Liminal platform and cognitive states. Also, I can say that this community-based platform of short virtual reality experience is to power people to choose how they feel and perform. You can find out more about the Liminal platform on MetaQuest store by visiting this website address that, again, I'm asking my colleague just to write the website address on chat. Experiences on the Liminal platform are guided by almost a decade of research by a highly credentialed team of neuroscientists and psychologists. It is one of the world's most widely recognizable VR applications and currently enjoys the highest rating on the Meta Store among mental health and well-being oriented virtual reality platforms. The Liminal platform is currently being evaluated across a number of clinical trials and is being used as a tool for well-being in schools, workplaces, hospitals, and other healthcare settings around the world. Liminal also works extensively with clients, having collaborated on a major grant and developed a range of education and training simulations, clinical products, and simulated programs for clients. With a great pleasure, I'm inviting Mr. Nick Wasieta.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for that introduction. I've got some slides, so I might share my screen if that's okay, and yeah, just bring that up. So can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Yep, excellent. I'll just bring that into my view now. Okay, so yeah, look, thanks everyone, and thanks for having me. This is a real pleasure to be talking to everyone today. So my name is Nick Wasieta. I'm the Managing Director and co-founder of Liminal VR. We're a virtual reality platform on the Meta Store, which is focused on Meta Quest headsets. And our platform is a short platform of virtual reality experiences to change how people feel and perform. So Liminal is an Australian-based studio. We've been in operation for almost a decade now, and from the ground up, myself and my co-founder Damien Marathi really saw something in the technology in the medium that's categorically different from other mediums. So with virtual reality, I'm sure a lot of people watching, may have had an experience with the technology. You're placed inside a digital environment. You can look around in 360 degrees. You get this sense of scale and perceptual depth and vastness that is not available with other mediums. So like if you're watching videos on YouTube or you're playing video games on a console, there's a separation between where you're looking, what you're doing, and the flat screen that you're interacting with. So that's different. And right at the very beginning, we looked at the technology and we thought, well, fun, there's something different going on here. Fun things are really fun, scary things are really scary. So, we were digging around in the early days and looking at what sort of technology and research has been going on in the immersive realm. And this was at a very primitive stage of the development. We're talking back in late 2014. So, we've seen since then this big evolution from a few sort of prototype headsets to it being a consumer market and a consumable that is used by tens of millions of people around the world. So we're on a pathway towards ubiquity in virtual reality. But like we were looking at this really great research by the Stanford Virtual Human Interaction.
I go. By the way.
Sorry.
Okay.
I think someone's coming through on their on their side. But so there was a lot of really great work being done at the time in empathy and embodiment and emotion induction, and that really influenced us very early on in our journey. So we we took an unconventional approach, starting a company in this space where there was no consumer market to work towards at the time. barely an enterprise market to speak of. And we instead of hiring a big team of developers, we instead, really set ourselves up with a research foundation from day one. So we've always had a team of researchers working with Liminal. We've currently got 2 PhD researchers at the moment. So yeah, there's something like, this is not about the technology in a way. This slide is really to convey that with virtual, there's something innate about the emotional experience that we all want to feel, whether we're drinking a cup of coffee or going for a run or a walk, or watching our sports team, or going to the disco, or watching a film. That the whole purpose of whatever we do for entertainment is to feel something, and that is something that I think is innate. That's why there's a classic quote from the book Stealing Fire that the altered states economy, that's what they call it, is a $4 trillion a year economy. When you put it all together, that what's really fundamental about the medium of virtual reality is that it has this ability to induce emotional and cognitive states. So that's what we really wanted to focus on. So we created the Liminal platform, launched it, announced it at 2017 at VRLA in Los Angeles. And it's a platform that really has been focused on the emotional and cognitive shift of changing a person's emotional state or mental functioning from where they are now to where they want to be, and that's been really what has driven our research and development right from the day one. So we've grown, and this slide's a little bit out of date, but we've grown organically out to 125 experiences. We're a community-based platform. We've got people around the world using Liminal, developing experiences with our research, and we validate experiences and very collaborative in our orientation. So we've got psychometrics to validate the experience, which I'll get to in a minute. We've got lots of sort of clinical collaborations with universities and hospitals around the world. So maybe I'll push on to just, this is our team quickly. So there's myself and my co-founder Damien here, and we've got a really talented developer and artist who's at the helm of our development team, and we've got our 2 PhD level researchers who both did their PhDs in virtual reality. So this is what the platform looks like. We've got 6 categories of experience: sleep, calm, energy, relief, awe, and focus. And we've also got a lab as well, where we conduct experiments at scale with our users. And I'll talk about all these in a minute. So calming experiences, they take on many different forms. We've got everything from breathing simulations to hypnotic experiences, ambient environments, and surreal type, abstract type fractal experiences. There's a whole range of different ways people can be, I guess, directed to feel calm, and we I guess it's important to note that we do a lot of our research at the front end and the back end. So we don't just come up with creative ideas and then make that available, and just have our team come up with a concept and then we test it at the end. Research from the very front end and ground up is really sort of underpinning our work at the concept stage. Energy experiences are a little bit more interactive and engaging. We measure energy, and it's not really a formal psychological concept, energy, but it's something we sort of validate this category by make how people rate themselves as being, whether they're cheerful or excited. So yeah, think of it as like an energy drink or something to give you a boost. Like if you're feeling a little bit lethargic, you know, something to sort of pep you up a little bit. Relief experiences are pain relief experiences. So we, you know, again, there's a lot of different techniques at play, but the most prominent is distraction. There's something about virtual reality. You're placing a headset on people and blocking out the external world, both audio, from an audio and a visual perspective. So you're immersing people completely. So for example, if you've got a wound or if you're in chronic pain, you're redirecting their attention away from their pain and into and channeling that into something else. Or experiences, this is more of an entertainment driven category for now, but we're really interested in testing out the effects of awe on mental health and well-being. So you can imagine an awe experience, like awe has a bunch of characteristics, but to oversimplify it, you can think of it as this sense of vastness, you know, and you can manipulate that in virtual reality with this sense of scale that you can, so, you know, you can look up at big things and look out into the distance. You can produce that on demand from any setting. You know, in the real world, you have to drive for hours and you fly off to the Grand Canyon or go to very unique wonders of the world to sort of experience that effect reliably. Whereas in virtual reality, it can take you anywhere and make you feel these things. With sleep, this is a really popular category. It's one of our most commented categories at Liminal. So we've been doing a lot of research into sleep and not from the perspective of getting you know, having someone fall asleep you know, with a headset on, but more you know, as getting you into that ideal optimal state to go to sleep, you know, whether as a sleep aid in a sort of preparation sense, or if you've got a bout of insomnia and you can't sleep, then being able to you know, have an intervention that might get you into a better state so you can nod off a little bit later. We're doing innovative things in sleep where we're having people use virtual reality with their eyes closed. So they're getting an interactive light show through their eyelids, and that's blocking out a lot of that you know, blue light and you know, with a view to I guess, you know, simulating that sleep posture where you're lying back and your eyes are closed, but it also limits the amount of low wavelength light that reaches the optic nerve, which, as a lot of people I'm sure are aware, like artificial lights wake people up. So you know, so you know, that's an effect that we wanted to mitigate, and that's the solution we came up with. And focus experiences are, I guess, experiences not designed to make someone feel hyper focused. Like if you're going in a flow state and you know, you're really sort of you know, you're really completely plugged into the task or activity that you're doing, that's a great feeling, but it doesn't you know, it doesn't leave you in a more focused state afterwards. It actually leads to a crash, you know, because it takes so many cognitive resources to get into a flow state that you end up fatigued afterwards. So, but like what we're looking at is the rejuvenating effects of virtual reality experiences. So this draws on the PhD of Dr. Adam Barton in our team, who is, I guess, we sponsored his PhD and created an experience called Equilibrium, which is on the bottom right here, and that really was drawing on principles of attention restoration theory. So we were looking at what are the principles of nature that you know make people, if you go for a walk in a forest, for example, or along a beach, that make you feel more focused. How do we synthesize that into a more abstract sort of fractal based environment, for example, and that, and what are the effects. And he got a really good result from his PhD, and that's underpinned our focus category. And then there's the lab. So this is something that really excites us at Liminal. So within Liminal, we've got a ready pool of willing VR participants who have their own headsets at home. So we've got tens of thousands of users who use Liminal every month. And we run experiments in the lab to get data at scale. So very quickly, we can get hundreds of data points very quickly. Every day, and that allows us to test things out and get really rich data on VR design and other things that we're looking to test as well. So, we've collaborated with third parties, like in the automotive industry, for example, creating studies that have and tested the certain effects that they were looking to validate through our lab, and it's something that we're very keen on building out further and collaborating with the academic sector. So within Liminal, you click on one of those tiles that I showed you in the previous slide, and then that opens up this arena. So you have a library of experiences that you can peruse and choose to select. So we've got 125 experiences at the moment. This is one of our earliest experiences, Ripple Effect. But what happens is when you launch an experience, a psychometric pops up, and we have been looking at ways to, collect data quickly that's going to be meaningful, but also in a way that is not going to be too onerous for a user to complete. We don't want people feeling like they're filling out these tedious surveys when they really want to just use Liminal to unwind and relax and experience good things. So we show a bit of data to the users, and we've been so far. This number needs to be updated. We've secured over 2 million psychometric data points across these 125 plus experiences. So the data is adding up, and we're ranking experiences in order of effectiveness and enjoyability. So I won't go into this in too much detail for time, but we've been doing a lot of work in validation of our content, both within our platform, but also with third parties. So this was the results of Dr. Barton's PhD, where it was increasing focus, reducing mental fatigue, and reducing stress. This is data collected in our platform across almost 10,000 user sessions. There's probably over 10,000 now, where we've increased positive moods by over 40% for this experience, Desert Breeze. We're getting similar results in other experiences. And this is Cyberpunch. So this is an energy experience. So when people think of well-being intuitively, they think of breathing simulations and they think of serene beaches and Zen gardens. But, there's feeling cheerful and excited and energetic is also like a very positive, can also have very positive well-being effects. Waves of tranquility. This is preliminary data with one of our eyes closed experiences. RMIT University so far, only on a small sample size, have found a reduction in sleep latency by 11.74 minutes compared to reading a book. That study is ongoing, so we're sort of working on that. But that means we're biometrically testing when people fall asleep if they've used that experience versus trying to get to sleep by reading a book. So in a well-being context, I know this is all about education. So we were lucky enough to have been awarded a major grant with the Australian Government Department of Education. We rolled out Liminal in 33 schools across Australia, over about a 12-month period. We got really positive feedback across all schools. 91% of students reported a positive impact on their mental health. 75% experienced reduced stress and anxiety. 55% found it helps them cope with difficult emotions, high levels of enjoyment, and 95% supported more VR in schools. So that was a really great result. It was used in counselling sessions, in classrooms, and by the teachers as well. So the counsellors used it themselves, which really shocked us. So we thought they'd be really hard to win over, but we found that 92% of the counsellors that reported that they used the liminal platform themselves for their own needs, and they reported it really improved the emotional states in students. They said it was like not only just used to regulate the emotions, but that led to all these sorts of really positive effects in the classroom. So we had students staying in class who might have otherwise been removed if they were misbehaving. Students, going through difficult emotions. It helped settle them down. We had counsellors reporting to us that it opened up discussions with students who were unable to really, who were very closed by orientation and not willing to sort of speak, open up and very counselling resistant. We've had feedback that in some cases, it was used as the primary intervention in helping, one student in particular who was resistant to counselling. So these are some of the key results here, and I'm very mindful of time. Sahai, do I need to wrap up very shortly? I don't want to go on for too long. So I'll be guided by you as to when I'm wrapping up.
No, we have time, please.
Yep, excellent. Yep. So we've also been used in workplace wellbeing. So you can think, well, this is a webinar and a conference about education, but educational institutes are also workplaces. So we've had and again, this is drawing on the Australian government school study. It was used by teachers in the workplace, and we got really great results from them as well. So 86% of staff reported a positive impact on their mental health. 88% noticed improvement in their concentration and alertness, and 100% supported using the liminal platform and making it more widely available. So we've also tested this in the corporate sector as well, and we've in call centers, and this was in our very early days. We worked with Serco, and they did a big pilot in call centers, and they found that they a really positive effect there. So in call centers, when you're talking with the general public, there's lots of different interactions, and it's a diverse group of people you're talking with on the other side of the call, and many people would say unpleasant things and be quite abusive to these people in the call centers. And they had a procedure where if you had one of those calls, their staff were directed to use liminal, and the positive feedback after distress, the impacts of after distressing calls were really, really positive. And so, this is just more to, I guess, talk about some of the impacts we've been having in the healthcare settings. We see this as real validation. If we can get good results in clinical settings, it's a really good sign that it's an accessible resource that has really good effects behind it. So we did we're doing a randomized control trial with Monash University here in Melbourne, where they're testing one of our pain relief experiences, Meridian, in 4 hospitals for women who have just gone through laparoscopic surgery, and they found really a significant reduction in abdominal pain within 60 minutes after surgery. So this is women who've come straight out after surgery, and they're using VR in conjunction with treatment as usual to I guess mitigate their pain, and the analgesic effects have been really, really positive. we're in Italy. We're in a hospice in Italy in end of life palliative care, and so in the last days of people's lives, when they're about to pass away, in this hospice, they're providing liminal experiences, and the positive feedback that we've got has been remarkable. Like, we didn't even know that they were doing this. They told us, and they said that the people in the if they've got a couple of days to live, the experiences they gravitate towards are the awe experiences. So that's interesting. I think awe on demand has never been available before by other means, and this is like the I guess mental health and health benefits of that are largely unknown and untapped. So that's something we're really interested in exploring over time. We're in a medical institute in Lviv in Ukraine, where they're testing liminal on soldiers who have experienced PTSD. Lots of horrific things are going on over there, and liminal experiences are being used to help regulate that. We're actually with Meta donating 6 additional headsets to help support that research, and they're looking at things like the interplay between liminal experiences and ketamine, and the effects of that on pain management in those settings. We did a pilot for another experience working with an anesthesiologist, Dr. Jacqueline Nash, and co-designed an experience called Cosmic Conductor. She did a pilot in a clinical outpatient unit where it was used by 28 participants, roughly 40 to 65 years old. We got a post-pain score that suggested 26% reduction in pain and a 39% reduction in anxiety and 8.8 out of 10 enjoyability. So that's pretty much, I think, where I might leave it. I guess liminal is available for enterprise use, and where, I guess there's different ways. If anyone is interested in finding out more, I'm very happy to chat with anyone. I'm looking at this both from the point of view of, like, we want to see liminal out there in different organizations, but we're also very open to research collaborations as well. We're a very open book company, and we're very supportive of researchers who want to get involved and test different things out in virtual reality. That's a really big part of our ethos. So if anyone's interested in that, please do get in touch, and I'm very, very happy to answer any questions at this point, I guess.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nick Brusieta, for your time and for your comprehensive lecture. If you have got any questions, please just click on raise hand.
So, okay, I'm just...
Yes, we have got some questions.
Okay, so...
From Pando.
Yeah, since you...
Yes, please.
Do you want to summarize the question, or do you want me to? I'm happy to.
Okay, so Pando just asked this. Since human beings have 5 senses, and if I don't misunderstanding, the liminal focus on only seeing and hearing only. But as I know, the more critical factor affect to health and well-being is mind, which also relatively impact to nervous system. Does the research connect the seeing and hearing to other parts of human sense, especially the mind?
Yeah, well, look, we, I guess I'll talk about our research. So we are, I guess, first and foremost focused on psychometric feedback as our primary mechanism of testing. So that's a community-based, feedback mechanism where you've got you're dealing with the subjective realm. It's always very complicated trying to collect emotion data pre and post on when you're dealing with emotional subject matter. But we've really gone to great lengths to I guess create objective scales that are suitable for a user experience within virtual reality to generate like data on the pre and post effects. So yes, virtual reality is primarily an audio-visual medium. So yes, there are other senses that could potentially be tapped. Obviously, that's not practical within the realms of current technology. We do get haptics as well, and there is this sense of movement that you can introduce into virtual reality experiences as well. But we see the data that we get, and then and then outside of that, there's real world impacts that we are unable to measure through a platform like ours, and so that's why we're so why these external research collaborations are so important to us, because what I can say is we do get lots and lots of feedback from different people saying that their experience of liminal has been really, really helpful for them, from getting them to sleep, to getting themselves more focused, to help reducing their anxiety. Had people with PTSD reporting to us that it's helped them manage that. We've had people with ADHD reporting the same thing. So there's something and I don't think this is just liminal that has these effects. I think it's something intrinsic to many aspects of the virtual reality medium. Like I think the ability to place someone inside a virtual reality environment I think that has this generates this sense of presence and these unique emotional effects that are very, very difficult to replicate, if not impossible, through other media, because you're not inside the world looking around from a first person perspective when you're looking at a screen, or there's always that degree of separation. So it's engaging the senses and plugging people in a different way.
Thank you so much. And we have got two questions from Professor Dr. Kambiz Hamedani. The first question: can your psychometrics be plugged into other experiences?
In principle, yeah. I mean, we haven't got that infrastructure where someone can leverage our psychometrics and place them into their own experiences. But we do have a lab within Liminal, so we could. So, for example, if someone had created an experience in Unity and wanted to test the effects of that experience, that we do offer that service where someone can we can bring their content into our lab and test that, so we can get quite large data sets to back that up. Like the traditional way of doing research in VR is you're running around often on campus and trying to get as many people as you can, mostly students, to participate in your research. Just getting the headset on people is a battle, and you might get 4 or 5 a day. We can get like hundreds a day. So like if someone was interested in doing that, please reach out, because that we can certainly help there. And we curate the content on the broader platform, but if we deem an experience is of sufficient quality to go on Liminal, then we can also look to bring that in as well.
Thank you so much. What about eye tracking, face tracking, EEG data?
Yeah, so that is, I guess, the next stage. Not so much for Liminal in the short term, but we do have like premium grade headsets like Apple Vision Pro coming to the market, and for us once like Liminal's not on Vision Pro at the moment, but you know, there's lots of potential to integrate those sort of technologies to really induce these emotional and cognitive states in really effective ways. So we're very excited about those sort of technologies. We haven't implemented them within the Liminal platform, you know, per se, but yeah, there's a lot of very, very good reasons to do so. That we're currently limited by the ability of MetaQuest headsets. Like, there's no eye tracking out of the box just yet for MetaQuest, so it's not a design feature that's available to us. But as soon as it is, we would certainly be taking advantage of that.
Thank you. And we have got another question from Ole Vola. And the question is that, how do Nigeria institutions key into this future driving technology for teaching?
Yeah, well, I guess that's really a more of a business question for that institution rather than you know, anything you know, rather than a question about Liminal, in the sense that, like, I think, you know, the first step is to get some headsets and to play around with its capabilities and familiarize yourself with that. Then it's really a question of finding the right way to integrate that. You can use, if you'd be interested in Liminal, you know, there's always scope if you can get hold of MetaQuest headsets. I'm not sure if they ship to Nigeria or not, but you know, there's always scope to you know, bring Liminal into the fore. It's probably also worth noting that we do also develop custom projects as well with so we've worked with a lot of universities on different projects over the years, and companies and as well, and that's something that we do. So yeah, like if there's any specific questions or interest around that, then I'd be more than happy to chat further.
Okay, thank you so much. And again, Professor Dr. Kambiz Hamadani said that I would love to have a plug and play psychometric tool with analytics included, so I don't have to reinvent the wheel there.
Yeah, well, look, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah, maybe there's a grant application in that that we can collaborate on. I'd be very you know, very happy to discuss something like that, and it's something that, like whether or not Liminal's psychometric tool is the perfect tool for you know, you know, any individual research purpose, I guess, depends on the nature of the research. Like, I think really I could see you know, like, for example, that one really good way again is to come back to the lab. If you had a you know, an interest in testing something in the lab, we can design psychometrics and, you know, with to ask any questions that that you deem of interest. So, you know, that could be you could just leverage the psychometrics we have, or we could design something more specific or more detailed. So, you know, one thing about Liminal psychometrics is we're trying to make the user experience as enjoyable as possible. So we don't want people feeling like they're filling out complex surveys all the time, but like, but in the lab, there's more scope to sort of get a bit more detailed with the sort of questions that we might ask. So if that's something of interest, please reach out.
Yes, and again, Professor Dr. Hamadani asked, is HTC Vivo Pro Eye supported?
Not yet, but hopefully soon. We're working on a big upgrade to Liminal and you know, the Vive Pro, and I see the next question is the Pico Neo.
Neo with eye tracking.
Yeah, not with eye tracking yet, but like, yeah, because it's not that we can't, it's just that we have been building for MetaQuest and there's no eye tracking in the current sort of generation MetaQuest headset, so we haven't built our experiences with that in mind. But in principle, like that's something we'd love to be able to do.
Thank you so much. I suppose there's no more question.
Yeah, except the final question was the presenter's email. So please, yes, info@liminalvr.com. I might even include my personal email if you wanted to do that as well. I'll just type that in now. So yeah, anyone who's interested, wants to find out more, please reach out. I'd love that. So we're very collaborative by nature, and yeah, we'd be very, very happy to answer any questions and explore possibilities of working together.
Thank you. But there's another question. What is the possible downside of liminal by Dr. Hassan?
Well, I guess, if we wouldn't want people to be thinking of it as a substitute for therapy. We see it as a complementary tool. I would like to think we've been, all liminal is doing is looking at ways to help people regulate their emotional states and cognitive states. And so if, for example, I guess there is a school of thought, and not without merit, that, sometimes negative emotions are good too. There's reasons for them, evolutionary reasons. So we feel anxiety because, our nervous system is telling us something's wrong and we need adjustments, and we need to adapt to something in our environment. We sometimes feel sad, but the grieving process, if you have a loved one that passes away, is a very natural thing. So we wouldn't be we wouldn't be suggesting that people should be repressing these emotions, but it's more like it's a tool that is available for people if they want to, to help them along, and in times of need, and hopefully have an enjoyable experience while they're at it.
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me, and please, anyone reach out. I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so let's go to session 2. I am pleased to present Professor Dr. Hamedani. Professor Hamedani is currently an associate professor of chemistry and biochemistry at California State University, San Marcos, as well as founder and CEO of Hands-On Virtual Reality Labs, a startup which develops authentic and individualized mixed reality, physical and life science lab experiences. His research spans multiple domains and includes both the study of co-transitional protein folding and dynamics using single molecule spectroscopy, as well as the combining spatial computing, AI, and virtual mixed reality to create the educational technologies of the future. Just please, as a reminder, during the presentations, mute your microphone and speakers. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to invite Dr. Professor Hamedani.
All right, can everyone hear me okay? Okay, so thank you very much. First off, to the organizers, VWI and the SIMS Institute for organizing this webinar, and for giving me the opportunity to share some of my work and some of the offerings that my company is beginning to make available to folks. Let me just share my screen here. Let's see, is this coming through? Can you guys all see this? There we are. see, I can't really see the comments from folks on the chat. So if the organizer would just let me know if there's any comments or questions that come up during the presentation. So my email is here, and I'm also going to, at the end, post a link to a form that you can fill out if you have any questions or you want to find out more about any of the things that I'm going to be talking about. But as the organizer mentioned, I'm from California State University, San Marcos, and my company's email is also at the bottom, so you can reach me at either of these two emails at the bottom. The work that I'm going to present is the result of basically a grant that the National Science Foundation awarded to my research group, and it's now in its 5th year, so we're kind of closing shop on that grant and transitioning to commercialization of the tools that we've built. So I'm a big fan of history, so I'd like to share with you how I came into all of this from my co-translational folding and single molecule spectroscopy background. I'm a wet bench biochemist by training. I've spent most of my life, my career working at the bench, doing hands-on laboratory experiments up until about 2012. And right around the time when I was due to leave my postdoc at UC Berkeley, I started to get very much interested in some of the virtual laboratory experiences that were coming onto the market at the time. And there was a paper by Marcia Lin and De Jong, which is listed here, and the abstract is also given, on physical and virtual laboratories in science and engineering education. Dr. Lin was at Berkeley, and I started to attend some of her group meetings and started to get very much interested in how we can basically bridge the gap between instructional science labs and what people do at the real life, in industry settings and in real life physical and life science, workplace environments. And at the time, there was a company by the name of Labster that was providing 2D virtual simulations using, pretty inauthentic keyboards and computer mice to basically allow students to carry out something like laboratory experiments in a computerized environment. So these 2D virtual labs were, very interesting to me, and I started to use them eventually when I started my independent career as a professor in my current institution. And I tested them, and I worked with Labster to some extent to try and push them towards more virtual reality experiences, which, as this graph here indicates, the level of immersion versus the level of fidelity of these experiences is very, very low in immersivity and low in fidelity. I wanted to basically try and develop experiences that were, much more in this quadrant: high fidelity and high immersivity. And over time, others have also tried to push that lever, or tune that knob towards increased immersivity and fidelity, including companies and experiences like HoloLab Champions, where you have basically virtual reality hardware that the user will put on and carry out laboratory experiments at a simulated in a simulated environment, including reagents and simulated reactions and other kinds of things of that nature. So these are great because they have much greater immersivity, but the use of traditional VR controllers and the lack of what I would call authenticity in data analytics, the way that we do science at the bench involves analyzing data as well. And that level of fidelity or lack of fidelity in that respect is still limiting. So as a assistant professor, I basically saw that there was a gap a much needed gap to fill. And I took it upon myself, together with my colleagues in computer science department on my campus, to try and develop what I call hands-on virtual or mixed reality science labs. And so the idea here is to basically take all of the tracking tools that people have developed for mixed reality experiences, including kinds of tools that would allow military training or sports training experiences, as we see here, and adapt them by placing these tracking tools not onto the traditional adapters and hardware that one might use in combat or sports training or flight training, but onto laboratory equipment. And by merging the mixed reality hardware with, basically regular science equipment, we would now be able to carry out quite authentic laboratory experiments at a simulated lab bench with physically realistic hardware. So we actually have students putting their hands on the actual lab tools that they would be using at a real-life lab bench. We just track those tools, and we can simulate all of the chemicals and the solutions and the reagents and all the reactions that might be happening at that simulated lab bench in order to reproduce the visual and even informational aspects of the scientific process. So this panel on the left here just illustrates the spectrum of different tools that are out there in the market for tracking hands, and also incorporating haptic devices in order to increase the tactile authenticity of these laboratory experiences. The problem with this is that as we get to things like haptic gloves, the level of tactile authenticity that even the best haptic gloves can offer is actually pales in comparison to the billions of mechanosensitive receptors and channels that exist in a human hand. So we want to basically not skimp on that tactile sensory experience. And ultimately, my kind of overarching hypothesis with all this research and development work is that, not only does what we see and hear, not only are those two channels of information going to be important for learning, but also what we touch, how we experience the science, as far as the feel of that science at the laboratory bench, is going to have an important impact on learning. So this is kind of the big overarching questions that we sought to explore in the research, and ultimately with the company, the goal is to basically make those, bring that tactile authenticity to end users. So just as another overview of the different types of offerings that are out there, traditional laboratory experiences, which are illustrated on the left-hand side of this spectrum here, involve basically tools that have limited accuracy and precision being used by users that also have very limited accuracy and precision. These tools are used to acquire data. The data gets analyzed. It's stored in traditional laboratory manuals. The analysis and also the presentation of that data and is used to draw conclusions from that data. And ultimately, in an instructional setting, a instructor is going to assess all of these different steps of the process, which cannot be repeated. So that's given by these red arrows indicating that you can't basically redo any of these laboratory experiments, really. And ultimately, that feedback is going to be very limited because it's a one-shot deal. The instructor is not going to have unlimited time to assess and give feedback on many, many different iterations of this process. So there's no real iterative mastery. that is offered to students. And ultimately, my finding as a laboratory instructor for many years is that is a severe limitation to learning. Existing virtual labs, including the 2D virtual labs that have been now used with great success during the pandemic. So I will say Labster, for instance, has grown tremendously over the past couple of years, especially because of all of the push for online learning tools and modalities for carrying out laboratory experiences. However, all of these existing virtual labs that are out there offer tools of unlimited accuracy and precision. These are digital things where you pipette with a click of a mouse, and it's all or none. There's no option for the user to basically mispipette something with a mouse click. So the data acquisition is basically not, there's no opportunity for the user to introduce their own error into the process. So the user and the tools are basically very unrealistic with respect to the data that they generate. The data analysis is also pretty much, pre-baked. There's no opportunity for the user to carry out authentic data analysis as we do in a science, in a traditional real life science context. Data storage is also very often not possible, and ultimately, the conclusions that are drawn are basically very rote. The feedback that can be offered from all of these different steps of the process is unlimited, so that's a good thing. And we can have the students carry out all of these steps of the process over and over again. And so there is some level of iterative mastery that is offered to students, but the lack of this, factoring in of the students' introduction of some sort of errors or the true nature of scientific data acquisition, which has tools of unlimited precision and accuracy. These are barriers to actually making the process truly authentic. So in the system that I'll be showing you, what we've done is we've used the optical tracking methods that people are currently using to track guns and golf clubs to track the laboratory tools in order to assess, whether or not these laboratory tools are being used precisely and accurately by the user, and we control the data that is output by all of these tools programmatically, basically setting the level of precision and accuracy for each tool and propagating the errors of all of those precisions and accuracies in the platform. So what this does is this allows us to really recreate a very authentic, environment where the data analysis, data acquisition, the storage of that data, and even ultimately the conclusions that are able to be drawn from all of this data that has been simulated are as authentic as we have at the real life lab bench. And this now provides us a very, very godlike, ability to diagnose problems that students may encounter along the way as they carry out laboratory experiments and tasks. So this is what I'd like to share with you now. How do we do this? And there's a number of papers that we've published over the past few years that kind of illustrate some of the technical aspects of this. So those are listed here in these links. But essentially, we take laboratory equipment, we attach tracking markers onto the laboratory tools of the trade. We use optical tracking systems. So these are currently our most workhorse approach is passive tracking using retroreflected beads that are attached onto these laboratory tools. And then a stereoscopic IR camera system basically tracks the positions of the different sets of beads and then reports the pose of each lab tool into our main software, our foundational software system. And the positions and orientations of the lab tools are then rendered to the user's headset, and together with any VR controllers that they might also be using for the experience, the user is then able to interact physically with all of the mixed reality lab tools that we've created here, and also using their handheld controllers with the rest of the VR environment to carry out laboratory experiences. So this is the hardware that we use, and we're currently mainly using the HTC Vive Pro headsets and the 2.0 base stations for all of these tracking requirements. We also use OptiTrack motive cameras for the optical tracking of the lab tools. However, more recently, we've been working on customized active trackers, which are basically miniaturized versions of the Vive trackers that you guys may have seen being used in mixed reality experiences, and then also 2D barcoded tracking systems that are a little bit less expensive, because these IR camera systems are quite expensive, and it would be nice to basically do away with those if we're going to deploy in low budget environments, for instance, for educational purposes. So these are kind of the hardware. This is what the system looks like from the user's perspective. So we have basically a laboratory bench space where the user will basically have access to various laboratory tools. There is a screen that basically walks them through each task that they are to perform during the laboratory experience. And they either will hold the real-life lab tool, which gets tracked and represented in the virtual environment with sub-millimeter precision on the tracking, by the way. And we can basically track everything that they do with these lab tools with a precision that allows us to recreate the data that the user would actually be generating at a real-life lab bench. Now, at the same time, we can also do these experiences in a completely virtual reality mode. So every lab tool can be used either in a mixed reality or virtual reality mode. So the handler, the VR controller can be used in either of these two modalities. How am I doing on time, by the way? Just want to check that I'm not going over.
You have got time.
Okay.
Dr. Hamadan, you have got time, because we just need before 10:30, 10:20, we need time to ask and answer the questions. Thank you.
Okay. So each of these experiences we can actually run in either the what I call hands-on version or the hands-off version, where the user is actually putting their hands on a controller rather than the physical lab tool. And we can basically try and detect whether the impact of the tactile authenticity on the overall user experience. Do they learn the psychomotor skills that we're trying to teach them? Do they like the experience? Do they feel like they got something useful out of it? And we can basically have a very good control for the tactile authenticity of each and every lab tool, if we want to go at it at that level of refinement. Each of the laboratory instruments in the environment is basically putting out data. So these instruments are outputting data, things like a scale or a calculator or laboratory notebooks that are basically being used to store or record data. And then these laboratory tools are used to manipulate and transfer reagents and ultimately generate data in an indirect manner through the laboratory instruments. All of the data that flows into and out of the lab notebook is also parsed into spreadsheets, which we can then have the user analyze offline as a part of the experience. So data analysis is an inherent step in the overall scientific process. and we actually have the user take off their headset, go to a standard computer, and do the data analysis in currently using Microsoft Excel, but we can have them do it in any kind of, using any kind of tool that would analyze the data generated at this virtual lab bench. This task descriptor over on the left-hand side is something that it's very important. This is basically a window into the mind of the content developer. So all of the experiences that we create, we've tried our best to make it possible for a physical life science instructor to be able to instruct and provide the tasks that a user is supposed to carry out in written form using this task descriptor. And also basically we empower these content developers to basically program their own experiences without needing to actually code anything in any kind of programming language. Currently, all of this is built in Unity, so it's all in C#. But we actually have Excel spreadsheets or a web-based system that will define in each step, or what we call milestone of the experience, the criteria that the user must accomplish or meet within the virtual environment in order for them to be able to proceed to the next step in the virtual lab. So this blue window here is the description that is set by a non-coding content developer, like a biochemist, for instance, that doesn't know how to code in Unity, and that's exactly what I am. So all of the coding, by the way, is done by computer science folks that know how to do all of that coding stuff. My wish is to not have to code all of these for every new experience that we want to make, and to empower faculty and teachers to be able to create their own customized experiences that meet the needs of their own students. And the way that we were able to do this is basically to define each task or milestone in a kind of Excel spreadsheet-like format, where the verbal description of what the user is supposed to accomplish, together with the virtual state of the virtual environment. So what target value needs to be placed into which of the various virtual lab tools for that virtual state of the environment to be met. So all of this is defined by the content developer in a simple spreadsheet, and we call this basically lab module generation tool. And by defining each of these lines in the spreadsheet, the content developer is able to essentially define the trajectory of the learning experience without ever having to write a line of code. And so what this does is it basically allows us to create an infinite number of different experiences that are tuned to the needs of whatever teacher or instructor, whatever the learning needs are for that particular class. So this is, I think, a very powerful and flexible way of approaching the problem of meeting students where they are, and also offering teachers and instructors the flexibility to tune these experiences, to their own liking. But basically we feed this Excel spreadsheet into our platform to generate each of these different experiences. And at the same time, we can integrate the back-end software with a variety of external tools, which allow us to do cool things. For instance, carry out steps of the procedure, which require very fancy software, for instance, like molecular visualization tools, or doing data analysis with more advanced tools besides Excel. For instance, if you wanted to connect this with graphing software, or Origin, or other types of tools that are more standard scientific data analysis tools, those would all be able to be interfaced with our backend software. Also, we can have students sent to external websites and simulations that are already available for students, and which, you know, it doesn't really make sense for us to reinvent. So we can basically send them to these other resources and then bring them back into the virtual reality environment in order to continue their hands-on laboratory bench work in a kind of very streamlined fashion. We've done a number of assessments of the different experiences that we've created. And this, as Nick pointed out, you know, the assessments that one does in these trials, you know, are oftentimes very onerous and tedious. Over time, I've learned to not overdo it with the various assessments. So this was kind of like the initial version of our assessment protocol, which I think did overload the users with assessment burnout. But over time, we've kind of learned to focus attention on more nuanced elements of what we want to actually assess. And ultimately, we're assessing both cognitive and affective measures of, you know, how these experiences, and especially the tactile authenticity elements and the integration of dynamic visualizations within these experiences is impacting students. Ultimately, we're also interested in assessing psychomotor skills acquisition by comparing, you know, how well these students are doing at a real-life lab bench, either with or without the hands-on authenticity that the mixed reality experiences offer. The spectrum of experiences that we've currently created are shown in green. So mostly it's for general chemistry. To some extent, we've now also developed some organic chemistry and biochemistry modules, analytical chemistry as well. But the hope is that we'll be able to create a full spectrum of experiences that bridge, you know, that span the spectrum of physical and life sciences, and offer these both for high school and university level consumption to end users. And with that, I'm going to wrap up with this slide here. There's a lot of people that have participated in helping develop these tools. So we have computer science faculty that I've been collaborating with, my colleagues in the biochemistry department here at my college, and many of the students, digital artists, you know, actual biochemistry and chemistry students that have come in to test out these systems, and of course the software developers who participated in developing the backend software. And then if you guys have any questions whatsoever, and or would like to actually see this system in action, I'm more than happy to have you, you know, send you either videos or have you guys test out the goods by sending you an executable. And this form, which I'm going to try and copy into the chat. If you would just fill that out with your contact info, and I can, you know, have someone reach out with more information. And with that, I'll close for questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for a great conference. Okay, so we have got some questions. Also, you can just raise your hand, or if you feel more comfortable, you can just write on chat box. So we have got a question from Mahmoud Batai. Thank you very much for the presentation. Can you please explain the initial steps for an institution interested in implementing hands-on VR labs?
So, you know, obviously the first step is you would need some hardware. And the hardware that we're currently, you know, using, we've primarily been using the HTC Vive system. So Vive or Vive Pro or Vive Pro I. The platform is totally compatible with Oculus headsets as well. We've tested those and those work perfectly fine. And all of the experiences can be used, off the bat in VR mode, which means, you don't need to have any of the fancy optical tracking tools, which are quite expensive and which ultimately, this is essentially what my company would focus on selling and providing to end users. And so the VR experiences, would be made available to end users as long as you have this hardware here. So currently Oculus or the HTC Vive platform. Once you have that, you would need a space. If you're an educational institution, you would need to set aside some sort of a dedicated space where the base stations and the GPU computer and the other hardware would live. But besides that, the experiences are, we're not currently in production mode. I should say my company is still not, we're not really selling any of these experiences quite yet. We're in licensing. We're trying to get all the licensing things worked out with the university. But as soon as those are worked out, I'm happy to send out, these experiences for folks to test and also for purchase. But those are the requirements. I guess did I answer your question?
Yes. By Professor Dr. Chris, what are the biggest challenges, non-technical challenges in introducing VR in teaching labs in institutions where VR is at a very basic level?
This is a great question. I would say there's a couple different challenges. First off, historically, I should say when Labster, this company that I was testing out their wares back in the, I guess, early 2010s, they experienced a lot of pushback from faculty that felt like virtual labs were very, very inauthentic and were perhaps going to somehow take the place of physical labs. So there's amongst the hardcore, instructors and physical life science instructors, there's this fear that as soon as you start to incorporate virtual laboratory experiences, and especially if you begin to try and incorporate laboratory experiences that are very authentic, as these, I think hopefully you will also see that these are pushing the boundaries of authenticity. There's a fear from the instructors and perhaps also administrators that you're really going to have a paradigm shift, or you're going to throw a wrench in the gears of the existing system where traditional laboratory experiences are the gold standard for science learning. So there's been a great level of resistance from faculty and teachers who basically say, oh, there's no way that we can ever get to the level of authenticity that you get from a physical lab. So that's been a problem, and I think that has that continues to be a hurdle for kind of just the mental at the level of the mental state of the end users, or at least the instructors and administrators. But in terms of technical elements, getting the hardware and also the IT folks at these institutions who generally don't really know all that much about virtual reality hardware. And certainly they know even less about mixed reality hardware tools. Providing, some sort of training or mechanism for them to feel well-versed enough to manage the hardware. I would say is probably the other, actual more technical challenge. And for that reason, I think that there does need to be an element of whatever companies end up entering this sphere, virtual reality and education. There needs to be some element of IT training, at these institutions that these companies will help to manage or provide, so that there's less of a reluctance to take on the expensive hardware that institutions will have to purchase in order to make all this happen. And personally, I would say a great model for dealing with that would be to have companies lease the hardware to these institutions, and in that way take over as sort of consultants or managers of that hardware, so that the institutions themselves don't necessarily have to worry as much about the hardware and its maintenance. So that's something that I've battled with, and I think that companies should, in this realm, in this domain, should also think about.
Thank you.
That's
also, there are two more questions. Thank you so much for your comprehensive information. So another question by Dr. Hassan. With many automations in business organizations, can this tool be also effective in business subjects taught in school? Is it costly?
Business organizations. What do you mean? Like, are you talking about like business courses? Accounting, for instance, or I'm not quite sure what you mean. You mean outside of the sphere of science? So
yes,
I would guess so. I never really thought about it in that way, but it's true that there's the data acquisition and data analytics part of what we've built. May be useful in those spheres as well. It's just the main strength of this tool is that it connects the hands-on laboratory bench work and basically the spatial computing that goes on when you track the poses of the lab tools to the data that is ultimately generated by those experiments. And I'm not a business, I'm not a very well-versed business person. I never went to business school, so I don't know all the courses that one might go through, but there's not as much of that hands-on stuff that would require spatial computing and lab tool tracking, as far as I'm aware. So I'm not quite sure if our platform would be a good match for business courses, but I would love to learn more about those needs and see if maybe there's an opportunity that I haven't really thought about yet. So thank you for that question.
And another question by Professor Dr. Chris. Do you think there's more pushback from instructors than students?
I think yes, because students in general actually are very well-versed in new technologies like virtual reality and mixed reality. Many of them have headsets at home, and many of them, I think would love to be able to carry out the laboratory experience before going in on the day of a physical lab, and having only one shot at getting it right in the physical lab experience is very daunting for many of them. They're very nervous. What if it doesn't work out and I only have one shot at this? So it would be very, very comforting, I would expect, for many of these students to be able to do at least some of these procedures in advance of going in on a physical lab day. And from the students that I've talked to and that have tested the system out, they are all very, very enthusiastic about its prospects and its uses. I think the fears and the reluctance does generally come from faculty, And I think that it's partly because they're not used to the technology, and they may not also be aware of how we expect that it will be used ultimately. And let me say, as Nick did, I believe, that this is not going to be a replacement for physical lab experiences. This will be a complement to all of those educational experiences. And this will definitely improve outcomes for students, in my opinion, and ultimately not just for students, but people in the workforce. So, companies that want to train their workforce, their employees for carrying out new procedures. We can also accommodate those kinds of circumstances because of the flexibility that the platform enables. Basically, you can create a protocol, for whatever procedure you might like using the content development tool. And that's also another aspect of this, which I think is going to be valuable.
Thank you so much. And there is another question from Nick, but before that, Professor Camel said important information. Thank you. And what are your plans for, rolling this out on a larger scale?
That's the kind of purpose of my company. So hands-on virtual reality labs. We are still just a small little startup based in, basically an incubator out of my university. We're licensing the technology. We've got IP secured both in the US and worldwide. And we are looking for investors and also to start pumping out a larger spectrum of experiences with the content developer tool. We also hope to license the content developer tool to others who may wish to create their own experiences for their own classrooms or their own companies. And the idea there is that there would be, this explosion of content that would result from this. And the hope is that we would be able to make all of those different experiences accessible to the widest possible audience. So that's kind of the holy grail of what I envision the company and this platform offering would be to basically remove the, for lack of a better word, I'm going to use some chemical, biochemistry terminology, the activation free energy barrier to progress in educational VR world, which is, it takes a lot of time, energy, and money to develop each and every individual experience. And by basically removing that bottleneck using the content developer platform, we will allow many more experiences that can meet the needs of a larger diversity of students to basically be unleashed on the world. So that's kind of like the big picture idea here is to basically roll that out and start getting people to make experiences for their own classrooms.
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure to have you today, Dr. Kambiz Hamadan. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. And yeah, I'm going to plug that form in here again so that you can send me any contact info and I can follow up with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. For session 3, I am honored to introduce Mr. Nihar Matkekar from India. Mr. Nihar, a passionate technophile, co-founded IXR Labs in 2020 to revolutionize higher education using virtual, augmented, and mixed reality. As head of products and strategic alliances, he drives innovation and partnerships, shaping the company's immersive educational experiences. With over a decade of EdTech expertise, Mr. Matkeke excels in VR storytelling and product strategy. He holds degrees in management from MDI Gogan and mechanical engineering from Goa University, and is certified in higher education teaching from Harvard. Beyond his professional pursuits, Mr. Matkeke founded the NGO Fascination to Improve Education in Rural India and launched Post-Tech, an initiative providing quality reading material to students. He has also consulted for major organizations on immersive technologies. In his free time, he is an avid bird watcher, wildlife photographer, Formula One fan, and history enthusiast. I'm kindly inviting Mr. Niha for his presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, sir, for the introduction. I hope I'm audible. Great, thank you. So I will just get started. I'll share my screen. Just pull up the presentation. All right, so those were some great presentations by Dr. Amdani and Nick there. So I'll try to follow up and keep up with the pace that they have set. And I think thanks to them, they have done a lot of the groundwork, laying out what these technologies are and what they do. So it saves me a time doing a lot of the grunt work there. So I'll be speaking about what we are doing at IXR Labs with XR and AI, and I will try to deep dive into the philosophy that we follow building these pedagogical tools. So I'll not just stick to the product that we have, but I'll try to get a glimpse into the behind the scenes of what our thought process has been behind building some of the product and some of the work that we have been putting together. Right, so about IXR Labs, we started off again in 2020, right after the pandemic onset. Before that, our team had been exclusively working with industrial setups. So since 2016, we had been building learning tools for industrial setups, all based on XR. So I would say right off when XR virtual reality did sort of come about, we had been building learning and development tools for some of the top industrial setups here in India. And slowly we did venture out globally as well, building some of the solutions in the L&D space. We had a chance to work with a lot of government institutions, a lot of defense applications, but we saw that learning and development seemed to be the biggest users of this tech. And we saw that, okay, the students or the new joinees who join these industrial setups, fresh out of higher education institutes or fresh out of finishing schools, they were the ones who had the greatest value addition in terms of the learning that they had about the kind of setups that they work with, the kind of industrial environments that they would work with. The core reason being that in their institutions, in their colleges, universities, you rarely do get a chance to have a look at your work environment. So your work environment and your learning environment become very different. So the whole idea behind the experiences that we were building, or we thought we would build, was to give students in higher education institutions exposure to the work environments that they would be working in. Over a period of time, it evolved into a lot more intricate experiences, some things to do around experimentation, lab work, similar lab work that Dr. Amdani spoke about before as well. So, and we did expand into the number of technologies that we work with. So we brought in AI, MR, augmented reality into play as well. And over these 4 years, we have catered to a wide array of domains. So we have worked with engineering colleges, medical institutions, science colleges, and universities. And We have built an extensive library of 250 plus experiences which cut across these domains and cater to multiple specializations. So yeah, so I'll try to give a glimpse of what our outlook has been while we built these experiences up. So what the agenda would be. So we'll look at what the future holds. What is our thought on how the future is going to be with all of these technologies coming into play. Then the immersive content that we have been creating. So I'll try to give you a little thought around what we look at while creating this immersive content. I'll touch upon these three key new technologies or three new developments that have happened in the past few years within the larger realm of XR and the technologies that we work with. And then I would sort of deep dive into how we would implement XR and AI into education. And then I will just give you a glimpse of a few more experiences as well. Right. Right. So over the past 10, 15 odd years, we have seen education become increasingly digital. I mean, all of our world has been captured into 2D screens, be it the laptops that we work with or the phones or the smartphones that we use. There is an increasingly vibrant digital world that we can learn from. But the challenge is that our real world, which is a 3D world that you can touch and feel, is equally amazing and vibrant. And there's a dichotomy here that you are learning about something that's so amazing in a 3D through a experience that's largely captured or locked inside a 2D screen. So the world is looking to break open these 2D screens and bring these two experiences together. And that's where we feel XR as a technology comes into play. So you can imagine a lot of the tools, charts, etc. in our classrooms, in our labs. A lot of these are probably, they need not be there physically present. You could probably have them just virtually present with you. And that's where these technologies enable having these experiences. I mean, all of our institutions have a lot of equipment and machines, and they get obsolete day by day. But the cost of replacing them is huge. So if they could be virtual, you need not have to worry about them going obsolete. So you could just virtually keep updating them. And that's our thought behind why we need to have these virtual equipments, virtual tools that you can use. Let's look at learning. Let's look at what are the benefits of universities and schools that we have. The key point there is that you learn together with your friends. So can we imagine a scenario where you learn with your friends who are not present in your environment, but can connect in remotely, but feel equally present? I think the challenge that we saw with the pandemic and online learning was that people felt that they were not physically present in those environments, so they missed out on a lot of the co-learning opportunities that were there, and that's something that probably the technologies can cater to. Or let's look at a third scenario where our classrooms that we have today are enriched not only with people who are virtually present, but would also have AI avatars that are brought in who bring in distinct industrial expertises. So probably an AI which is trained on, let's say, core industrial technology, or let's say if you're in a medical school, AI that's trained like an experienced surgeon. They can bring in experiences which are probably hard to have in a classroom, right? So these are the technologies, I mean, these are the experiences that we would want to build for the future. And these technologies can enable this. And there are a few key trends that we have been sort of working on that would enable this in the future. Move ahead. Right, so looking at the emerging trends, one thing that AI and XR brings in is hyper-personalized learning. So AI can cater to adaptive learning and pathways that cater to individual student needs. While over the years, This has been perfected a lot in a 2D learning environment. I think mixing it with XR also brings in another fundamental aspect of the motor skills, the physical nature of learning. Like, okay, where is the person looking at? Where is the person focusing on while he's learning? Is he looking at the right places? A lot of the personalization can happen at that level as well with AI and XR coming into play. You can bring in immersive collaborative spaces, something that I touched upon with co-located experiences where you can remotely connect in together, or it could be an tool that augments teaching, helping educators basically right from the point of content creation, creating to providing real-time feedback. The challenge often being that creating content takes a lot of time as against the time that could have probably been spent in sort of thinking how we could deliver the content effectively. There are challenges that there's a challenge of digital equity that's there. I mean, a lot of these tools do end up being expensive, and that's where they are at today. And they are getting increasingly cheaper though as we go along. But there is a chance that a lot of the different socioeconomics backgrounds do lose out on having access to these tools. So how do we make these tools accessible is also an important factor to look at. An ethical usage of AI, ensuring that there's privacy of data and the AI analytics are delivered correctly is something that's also important to look at. And I think a point that was delivered in the previous discussion as well, we need support of the educators, and the technology companies need to support educators to integrate this in their pedagogy to maximize the potential as well. So these are some of the challenges and the trends that are coming about. And to sort of achieve these visions that we have had, so we did put in a proactive strategy of research and development. So we work with, we collaborate with the institutions globally to build some of these experiences, while a lot of the other institutions do adopt and sort of buy in these experiences as well. So we have spent time and effort researching these AI and XR experiences, how they can be built to push boundaries of learning. So we spoke about the collaborations. And I think something that's probably in pipeline for us is building an ethical AI framework. While we have put together a lot of AI tools to power these experiences, but a framework that's globally acceptable for using AI in education is still missing, I would say, globally. And we focus a lot on innovation. I think I spoke about collaborating with different universities, but we're also trying to make it accessible to a lot of remote institutions. So we have worked with the governments here in India to build labs in remote institutions as well. Right, and so seventh eye here refers to our AI platform and tool that we have built. Is basically a layer of AI that fits on top of all and every experience that we have ever built. Right, so I spoke about building immersive content. So this is just a glimpse of wide array of the immersive content that we have. It could be industrial tools or medical scenarios, experiments, right from domains like civil engineering to mechanical engineering or even different sciences. There's a wide range of immersive content. So I believe the immersive content has never been a challenge. There are a huge number of immersive content pieces out there. We would be seeing a lot more. There are a few more participants that are on the call as well who would have seen such experiences that are there. The challenge often has been that whether the immersive content does cater to a learning experience. So what we do is we put it through a framework. This is a framework called DICE. It's a framework that has been built by a number of different researchers. It basically looks at what are the experiences that are difficult, important, costly, and often inaccessible as well. So we would look at a wide range of experiences and sort of layer down into what are those experiences that really make sense to build. And we have been crowdsourcing ideas for these experiences. And if I talk about the number of experiences that have been suggested, this list goes into the tens of thousands. And this is the number of experiences due to sort of crowdsource ideas that we crowdsourced from the faculties that we worked with. Finally, we sort of boiled down to having a list of around 500, 600 odd experiences that would truly make sense across different domains, certainly, like the domains of medical, engineering, and sciences specifically. And we have been focusing on building these experiences up. All of these experiences we are trying to enable with three forms of technology. One is having an AI layer on top of it. The AI layer specifically caters to, it's basically a generative AI layer in itself, but it also has an analytical component in it where it would try to identify a learner's learning style. It will focus on the language that's used to explain certain aspects to learners, and would also tweak it basis the questions asked by the learner as well. There's a whole area of multiplayer experiences that's also key, and that's been made even more accessible with Meta sort of coming up with a lot of different tools as a part of their Meta Quest 3 sets, which allow not just remote multiplayer experiences, but co-located multiplayer experiences. What this allows you to do is bring in not just the learners, but also bring in faculties from the institutions or from industrial setups into the same environment as the learners. And that can enrich the learning experience a lot more. And there's certainly mixed reality now coming into play. Mixed reality allows us to basically superimpose these experiences on top of a real environment. So that basically allows you to interact with physical objects, physical equipments, ensuring that learning continues not just in a virtual environment, but also it relates to a physical environment here. Now, the question often is like, how do we sort of go about implementing these things in different domains? So I will deep dive into a case study of how we sort of applied this in the domain of nursing. So this is a look at the framework that we followed, applying it into the domain of nursing. So what we did was we had largely 4 areas that we catered to within nursing. So one was a intelligent tutoring system, which was largely based on the virtual reality platform as well as a web-based 2D platform. The 2D platform really catered to analytics, data, as well as things like tracking your progress, etc. And this was integrated into existing learning management system.
Bye.
Yeah, sorry. I think there's someone. So I'll just
Sorry
continue.
for interruption. Sorry for interruption. Okay, please just mute your microphones and speakers. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So an intelligent tutoring system focused on, one was the domain module. It focused on assessing the nursing knowledge and clinical skills that the learners had when they came into this learning or into this pedagogy. There was a pedagogical module which focused on laying out the complete educational strategy for a nursing student. And this was enabled by, in fact, 3 different modules. One was a student module, there was a teacher module, and then there was a dialogue module. The dialogue module was basically an interactive communication system between the teacher, the tutor, student, and the AI system. And the student modules was basically what the students saw, the teacher module was what the teachers were seeing. All of this data worked along with virtual reality based simulations training module, this was where you could practice in a VR environment, different areas. So you could work we could work across against a clock. You had predictive analytics that were also provided as you went along. The teacher could come in and mentor and monitor the whole experience, and AI provided different scenarios and cases that could be thrown up. Along with this, what also came up was that a lot of the nursing learning happened not in classrooms or simulated environment. It happened on live cases. So the traditional nursing institutions, what they do is they take their students or deploy their students on real patient care, and that's where they do a lot of their learning. So what we did was integrating patient-centered learning experiences into these virtual reality experiences. So there was an AI-powered management system which looked at different cases that were running. So the students could come back in and experience on these cases. There were patient care simulations which were on existing scenarios that were there in their institutions. And there was also what we called as an open learner modeling. So this looked at the learner on the go, because these cases were often open-ended. So these cases were not closed yet. So there was not really a conclusive end that could be brought to. So often these cases were open-ended. So we had to understand how the learner has acted on these scenarios as well. And finally, there was an existing demand of research-oriented nursing education. And this is something that we are still working on, is how can you research using virtual tools. So the challenge often is that virtual tools have a set nature, has a set number of, has a set fidelity in itself. And based on what it has been trained on, based on what it has been developed to do, there's very limited research that you can sort of put into play. So integrating it with real world data and simulations, integrating it with real-time studies does allow you to do a certain level of research within these tools as well. So we are trying to build a intelligent tool here that would allow institutions to basically run their analysis on a virtual platform rather than doing it on a real live patient. And something that we are looking to do as a part of building this is actually do data sharing among institutions, which is fairly limited given that medical cases are confidential in nature, so they need to be fairly anonymized, and the data needs to be put in a anonymized structure before these data can be shared across institutions. So that's something that's in the pipeline and in the work, where a true research tool can come out from these technologies. Right, so I'll just give you a glimpse into one of these experiences. So this is, for example, these are, for example, a history taking or a analysis scenario for the nurses, where they need to ask in questions and provide an analysis, record the data basis what the responses are provided. So this is powered by an AI engine that generates the responses based on certain cases that it has been fed with. And the learner can key in, type in their responses, can either record their experiences or their analysis straight away into certain formats that are provided. These are standard formats that they would be using as a part of their nursing career. So this is basically providing an analysis of what probably the patient might be going through, and at the end they would be provided with a feedback of whether they were right or wrong, or there is any space for improvement based on the analysis that has been provided. So this is just a glimpse of one of these modules. So this module can generate by itself an infinite number of scenarios, but it also has a certain number of scenarios that are pre-fed in. And you could be training this based on the case files or the case studies that the institution or the university themselves have sort of recorded as well historically. going further, one of our very popularly deployed experiences is the industrial tours. So we have a library of industrial tours that provide access to a wide range of industrial setups. So this could be things like thermal power plants, uh, renewable energy plants, or manufacturing facilities, where the learner can roam around freely through these environments. And not just that, they can do it in, they would have an AI bot that sort of guides them through these experiences. They can ask for more information, they can ask specific queries, or in fact, if they don't ask queries, they are provoked to actually ask questions. So there would be prompts that would be provided that make them ask, okay, what's more to know about these experiences? And something that we have seen as a part of our work with some training institutes that would use, let's say, digital learning digital tools or digital videos as a part of their industrial experience. We have seen that there is a significant increase in the user engagement while they are in these tools. And there is certainly a proven retention of information also that's being seen when it comes to using virtual reality based industrial tools specifically. So if I give you a glimpse of one of these experiences again here, you can see this is recorded from one of the VR headsets, but there are a few other players who are virtually present in the same environment. So they can talk to each other, they can wave out, they can talk to each other. So here it's a teacher-led experience, for example. So they would instruct on what are the components, what are the things, what are the processes that take place. So I'll just quickly move through this experience. You can see there are other learners here, and they can talk to each other. They need not be physically present in the same environment as well. They could be remotely present and could be remotely connecting in as well. Or, I mean, they could in fact be in the same lab, and the teacher or the instructor could be present remotely. And this is a real scale environment. So this is in fact like an experience that takes half an hour to actually go through in all. And the learning experience is quite immersive and engaging for a lot of the learners that are there. And then there are experiments as well. Now these are dynamic experiments where we have again AI enabled these that provide information and learning on the go, and there is a level of fidelity that's already integrated into this. So these experiments are coded or designed on the first principles, basically the core principles of, let's say, this is for example electrical engineering. So you would we have integrated these right on, let's say, principles of how voltage, resistances, etc. work, and right into the first principles of, let's say, how probably a motor, etc. work. So there is a fair amount of dynamicism that's provided to the learner, and there is an opportunity for mistakes to be made as well. For example, in, let's say, connecting wires, etc. This is something that's left up to the learner to be done. So once, let's say, they are done, they can take a variety of readings. So they can vary different parameters. For example, here they are varying the resistance with a rheostat, depending on how, like what variations you provide or how you vary it, you would get different results. And you would also see the impact on the motor, whether it's what RPM it's running and what outcomes you are getting. So you can take a variety of readings here. So I think there's an overlay that's missing here, but when he's moving the array up, is basically varying the input voltages as well. So by taking different readings, different variations of that, they would be getting different readings. So you can see a variety of readings. And at the end, they would get a graph as well. And this graph is something unique to each learner. So it would depend on the readings that the learner has taken. All of this data can be saved and exported to a web platform where they can access it at the end as well. Right, and so I'll touch upon one last aspect before I wind up. There was a discussion previously about that there being a pushback by faculty members and staff from using a lot of these technologies, and one part of it is often it's sort of not made easy to use. There's often a challenge when it's deployed. So the institution or the faculty members or the staff are probably handicapped in a way on how they would use this, and they probably don't know how to use it as well, given that there's limited exposure as well, which is why what we have developed is we have developed a 7-step process that we work on with every institution that we deploy to ensure that it's effectively used. And if I give a case study of the first lab that we deployed and where we actually sort of developed this pedagogy or the process over a period of time with them, that lab deployed, in fact, here in a college in India, has over the past 4 years trained over 5,000 learners in one single facility, which has about 10 devices, has trained over 5,000 learners using 40 odd VR experiences in the fields of botany, zoology, and physics. And they do it right before any lab session that's taken up by the students, and that the adherence rate is quite high at the institute. So we are actually, it's one of the cases that we actually talk about to every institution, that we set as a North Star for them, that this is how effectively and efficiently that you need to use the labs that are set up, because often we have seen with other institutions that the uptimes can be very low. The learners can be not exposed to these labs much. They often just sit in a corner. But this pedagogy or this process that we have set up does help the institution take up implementation of the labs more effectively. So one of the primary things that we do is we nominate what we call an instructional leader. This is one person who would be the responsible person for spearheading the program. Usually we do find a person in every institution who's excited and passionate about these technologies, who take this initiative ahead. So we set this one person up who's an instructional leader. They work very closely with us. They in fact are like our team members. So we communicate with them on a weekly basis, getting in feedback, inputs about our products. And they are very instrumental in how effectively it's used in their institutions. Along with this instructional leader and some of the other faculty members, we set up an academic plan. The academic plan is basically designed to provide the staff an idea of when and how to administer these experiences to learners, so that they align with the curriculum or the pedagogy that the institution has in an existing level. Post which, in fact, we deploy the physical labs. We don't deploy them before having this academic plan in place. Once it's in place, we then deliver the experiences. We do an in-depth training program with every institution. This ranges from often 1 to 7 days, depending on the size of the institute. Post this, we do certifications for these teachers, the staff members as well. Now, this is done over a 6-month period. This also includes some coaching and training, online training that we do on a continued basis, that the faculty members need to attend. And after 6 months from deployment, we do in-person assessment at the institution and provide a certification to these to the institution. There is an online tracking platform that we also teach the faculty members about, then how you can effectively use it for ensuring that the lab has been effectively used, which provides the usage time, the durations, etc., that the lab has been used for, and also the outcomes that they would be seeing. Post and post that there is also continued post-implementation support that we as a company provide to these institutions. This is just to ensure that if you do get stuck, while we enable the instructional leader and his team to be effective in any sort of troubleshooting, etc., right there on the spot. But in case you do run into bottlenecks and challenges, we do post-implementation support. And this sort of helps remove any kind of inhibitions of getting stuck at any point in the whole learning experience. So using the 7-step process, we have been able to effectively deploy it at institutions where we see that the adherence rate does go up if we do this sort of a process, as against where an institution just sort of buys headsets and deploys content and there's none of these being done.
Right. Sorry for interruption, just because we are struggling with time.
Yeah, I think that's all from my end. I'm at the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much. Because also we have got some questions here by Dr. Kambiz Hamadani. And yes, does the generative AI model then get trained by the interactions between teacher and student?
Yes, so it would get trained by the interactions. Now this could be 2 levels of training. You could if this is deployed as an on-prem solution, then the training would remain within your institution, or you could also leverage open source training as well, where you can use all the training that's gone into this model by learners globally as well. So it over a period of time gets trained on that. And you also have an option to feed in as a faculty member or as a teacher yourself. You would have developed a lot of content over a period of time. So on the on-prem solution, you can feed in your notes, your material. So the AI model then also is enriched by your experience that's there. So whatever you have captured within your notes and research as well. And now this the on-prem solution stays with the institution or the teacher itself and does not go out to any open source network. But you have a choice to flip a switch and, let's say, connect to an open source network as well. So that's up to the institution and the user.
May I jump in? Sorry, can I just jump in and ask? This is Kambiz.
Sure.
Is there any plan or possibility of actually paying faculty and institutions for that training data that they generate and contribute to the model?
Not at the moment, but I do see that there is a use case for it, and it's something that we eventually look to plan to do. Specifically, if we would want to, let's say, deliver any on-prem data to a global network. So that would incentivize institutions, faculty members to actually help and train those models. At the moment, we are just restricting the usage just to you and your learners, for example, so that this challenge does not come into play. The challenge often is monetizing it, or in terms of how do you factor in who has trained the model how much? Is there an effective quantification of that at the moment? I think that's really a question that's there at the moment. But right, I mean, I get that point, and we would look to sort of build in that direction as well. And it's something that is at the back of our mind. In fact, even a point that you touched upon previously, where where we leverage a larger network of teachers to build these XR experiences up, how do we monetize, or how do we help faculty members monetize those experiences as well if they are building on let's say our platform or anyone's platform specifically?
Yes, I've also battled with that question, and basically some approach that mimics what publishers pay authors that are creating textbooks. We could come up with something very, very much akin to that, and a royalty system for providing some sort of a funding or royalty back to those authors for their contributions. I think that we have to be proactive about this, because governments and institutions are very hesitant to buy into AI systems, especially, and if organizations and institutions that are trying to empower users and institutions to make use of this technology get in front of that question of ethical AI by proactively having some sort of a mechanism for compensating faculty and institutions who are contributing to these models, that would go a long way towards improving the acceptance of the technology.
Right.
Okay, shall I continue? Okay, another question by Dr. Chris. Why wouldn't AI eventually make instructors obsolete?
Right. So I think this question, and there's another question by Dr. Chris ahead, is
yes.
How do we reassure instructors that they won't be replaced? And I mean, the second question is often that I also do struggle with working with a large number of faculty members, but I think I have had the opportunity to be with a lot of proactive instructors who feel that they would want to leverage the technology to actually stay ahead of the curve rather than sort of get replaced under the curve. But I think what probably we should look at is what are the things that I have seen faculty members do, or what I've seen instructors do that AI at the moment, or at least in the foreseeable future, is not able to do, is a lot of the emotional aspect around learning, emotional aspect around research. Often research is not just about numbers, or often instruction is not just about providing information. It's also often about how that information is provided. And I mean, we are talking about humans here, wildly unpredictable on how a learner is learning, what's going on at the back of their mind. So I think the role of instructors would remain to be a support in the whole learning process. That's what I feel. And probably AI sort of just takes the role of creating, curating, and delivering content, while the instructor does remain as a mentor and a guide through that whole whole process, with leveraging on the rich experience the instructor often themselves sort of brings to the table. And the instructors that I feel do this bit, they are staying ahead of the curve and are reassured that they are not getting replaced. But I mean, this is still an open question to me as well. I mean, this is something that we also do struggle to answer on a day-to-day basis, and would be great to hear thoughts from more experienced members here as well on probably what could be a reassuring take on this.
Okay, suppose there are no more questions. Thank you so much for your time. Yes.
If I may just respond to that invitation to comment, I do think that there are many instructors that would see themselves willingly as more of a kind of supportive backseat kind of teacher that is facilitating learning rather than giving out the information. But at the same time, there are other teachers that do want to be the sources of information and the authorities of a given discipline or subject. I think that there needs to be space for both of those two different modes for instructional support, and if the AI tools that you're building, or that are the general this discipline is going to build, cater to both of those two different types of instructors and mechanisms for teaching, that would be the ideal circumstance.
Right.
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure to have you, Mr. Nihal, today with us. So before we have the break time, again, I would like to remind you for the certificate, please just email your full names. And on the chat, my colleague would write the email address for you. And we can take a short break, about 10 minutes, in virtual breakout rooms or engage in a chat-based networking section. Thank you so much.
It's not just about what we learn, but how we experience it together. Every day, the future of learning is here.
World Institute, an expert team of VR in education, ready to make your learning engaging and effective. Forget about the boundaries of VR, you can learn from anywhere, anytime. You can have a result-oriented learning with VR education and help you achieve your goals.
In Switzerland, education is not just about textbooks and exams. It's about embracing diversity, innovation, and critical thinking. With 4 national languages and home to many renowned international corporations, Switzerland offers a rich, multilingual learning environment that is unparalleled. At the Swiss Institute of Management and Sciences, SIMS, located in Zug, we believe in flat education, a philosophy that levels the academic playing field and opens doors worldwide. Our faculty, comprised of eminent professors and industry experts, inspire students to reach new heights and think outside the box. From sustainable management to stimulating innovation, SIMS graduates are equipped to navigate the complexities of a global economy. But our mission goes beyond academics. It's about nurturing a community where students become confident, compassionate, and globally minded leaders. As the world evolves, so does our commitment to providing an education that is recognized and revered across the globe. Our global SIMS community is proof that quality can't be confined to a numerical rank. It's reflected in the success and fulfillment of our graduates, the depth of our academic discussions, and the breadth of our multicultural interactions. So come and be a part of a truly exceptional educational experience at SIMS in Switzerland. In a world without borders, education transcends the confines of geography. Imagine a learning experience as vast as the horizon. Welcome to Flat Education at SIMS Swiss. Here, we don't just learn, we connect. Across continents and cultures, our classrooms are gateways to global perspectives, harnessing the strengths of educational systems from around the world. It's education without limitations, without the traditional sequence, but a tapestry of experiences. Each student embarks on a journey, not just academically, but in the real world of multicultural engagement. With campuses that span the globe, the essence of flat education is a narrative of growth, adaptability, and interconnectivity. As future leaders, our students are equipped not only with knowledge, but with the ability to adapt and thrive anywhere. They learn to lead in the flat world, defined not by boundaries, but by shared human experiences and collective intelligence. SIMS Swiss graduates stand out as pioneers of change, their education a passport to global citizenship. They're architects of their destiny, their potential as limitless as the flat world they're prepared to lead. Join the vanguard of education. Embrace the world. Embrace flat education at SIMS Swiss.
welcome back. Again, thank you for your participation in this webinar, today's webinar about the role of virtual reality in education. Now, I'm so honored and delighted to introduce Dr. Khashayar Yazdani. Dr. Khashayar Yazdani is a multidisciplinary expert with over 15 years of experience at the intersection of academia, research and industry, specializing in AI business analytics and technology transfer. He holds a PhD in management from University Technology Malaysia, focusing on technology transfer and commercialization, complemented by a Bachelor of Electrical Engineering and a Master of Industrial Management. As a passionate educator, Dr. Yazdani is deeply interested in exploring new methods of teaching in higher education. Thank you. I kindly invite Dr. Khashayar Yazdani. Professor Yazdani, we are here to listen to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, everyone. Today I will be discussing the impact of virtual reality on learning, and my focus will be on exploring this topic from the academic perspective. Okay, whatever we had before, it was all technical presentation, introducing the softwares, but the one that I want to talk about is from the academic perspective, exploring how VR can transform education experience, enhance engagement, and improve the learning outcomes. And this talk, of course, won't dive into the technical aspect of VR technology, such as the hardware and software specific. And instead, we will look at how VR can be integrated into educational setting and what that means for both education and the student. Let's explore how this innovation tool can be rephrased the future of learning. Actually, my name is Khashayar Yazdani, and rather than all you mentioned, I am the Microsoft Certified Trainer and Educator, and I worked with Microsoft almost 5 years back in teaching and learning. Okay, let's go back to the topic that we have to talk, virtual reality. Actually, the virtual reality is revolutionized the education, creating the immersive learning and environment that enhance engagement, understanding, and skill development. And in other words, I can say that VR offers a unique opportunity to transform traditional classrooms into interactive and engaging experience. Let's see what. Okay. Let's start with the basic understanding of what virtual reality actually is. Essentially, the VR creating a simulated environment that immerses the user in a three-dimensional space and allowing the interaction through the various devices. What we are talking about the VR has been around for a while, and its application has significantly evolved. We see the VR in gaming, we see the VR in entertainment, and right now we just want to know how we can use this VR, how we can bring the VR to the education, and what are the benefits that VR can have for education. Initially used in gaming and entertainment is very clear, but now we want to see how it can help the education, training, and especially the healthcare. Virtual reality actually is a technology to create the immersive, interactive digital environments that simulate the real-world experiences, and it uses the head-mounted display and motion tracking to transport users into the virtual world and blurring the line between the reality and digital realms. This happens through the immersive experience that we are provide a captivating experience that transport users into the virtual environment, and also through the interactive content that we are allow users to interact with the virtual environment and object, and enhancing the learning through the active participation. Of course, another thing that we have here is the sensory engagement. As we know that we are engaged multiple senses, including the sight, sound, and even touch, and through that can create a more profound and impactful learning for education and for students. And the last one is accessibility and flexibility of VR. VR offers the flexible and accessible learning opportunity, allowing the student to experience the environment and scenarios they might not otherwise be able to access. That's why we can say that VR can help to improve the quality of learning for students. VR offers a unique opportunity to create immersive learning environment that really replace the real-world scenarios, historical event, or scientific concept. And these environments provide a hands-on approach to learning, fostering deeper understanding and retention. The areas that we can use the VR, historical reconstructions. Okay, students can virtually explore the historical site, witnessing event, and also gaining a deeper understanding of the past. Another area is scientific exploration. We are allow a student to delve into the microscopic world, okay, explore the human body or witness the complex scientific phenomena in action. And also engaging and designing is another area. A student can design and build a structure, test prototypes, and experiment with different material in virtual environment. Instead of they pay a lot to do the prototype, to make the prototype, that is costly, take the time, they can do it virtually and save costs and save money and save time. And the last one is the virtual laboratories. Okay, we provide a safe and controlled environment for a student to conduct experiment, learn scientific procedures, and explore the theoretical concepts. We are foster expecting awareness and visualization skill by providing a three-dimension experience. As I earlier mentioned, this is one of the most important features, the three-dimension experience. The student can manipulate objective, navigate virtual space, and develop a better understanding of spatial relationship. Okay, the geometry and spatial reasoning is one of the areas. A student can visualize geometric shapes, understanding the angles and dimensions, and develop their spatial reasoning abilities. Also, we have architectural design that we are allowing students to design and explore the visual buildings, and developing the spatial planning and architectural visualization skill, and map reading and navigation also is another area that can be highlighted in this area. We are provide a dynamic and interactive way to learn map reading and navigating the skill, and enhancing understanding on geographical concepts and spatial orientation. That's why we believe that VR having too many benefits for education, that here I want just only highlight three main benefits in my point of view. VR brings several key benefits for education. The first of all is enhanced engagement, and through the immersive nature of the VR can captivate a student attention for more than traditional method of teaching and learning. Another area, the secondary, the VR supports experimental learning by allowing the student to learn by doing. This is something that maybe somehow it's not possible for a student to practically do whatever they are talking about, whatever we are teaching them, but by VR, they can learn by doing. They can do whatever they are reading, and whatever it's conducting virtual experiment in a lab or walking through a historical event, We are offered the hands-on experience without the risk. And the last benefit that here I want to highlight is that we are promotes accessibility and inclusively. It provides the experience that might otherwise be unavailable to some students due to geographical or physical limitation that we have in some third worlds or developing countries. This is very interesting benefit for them. Increasing the student engagement and motivation as a most important benefit of the VR for education through active learning, through the novelty and excitement, personalized learning, and real-world simulation. When we're talking about the active learning, actually we are immersed students in interactive environment and encouraging active participation and promoting deeper understanding for a student. And novelty and excitement also. The novelty of the VR is very clear. The novelty of VR creates a sense of excitement and for a student, and crucially, and making learning more enjoyable for the student. We can have the personalized learning. VR experience that can be tailored to individual learning style and need, and catering to different pace and performance. That's why we can make the learning process very personalized for each student, each country, each institution, and this is another advantage. And the real world simulation also is another benefit that we are allowing a student to practice real world scenarios, enhance their skill and confidence in practical situations. How this is happening? Gamification and engagement in a classroom. How we do the gamification? We are immersive. The nature lends itself to gamification and making learning more engaging and interactive. By incorporating the game mechanism, we can motivate a student, encourage active participation, and also enhance their learning experience. This happens through the interactive challenges, reward and feedback, and personalized learning journey. These are the methods that we can use. Interactive challenge allows a student to participate in interactive challenges like puzzles and fostering the problem-solving skill and critical thinking. This can be happens by VR. And reward and feedback is the VR can incorporate gamification elements like points, badge, and leaderboard to provide the immediate feedback and motivation to a student. Rather than they wait for the feedback, they wait for the result of their activity, immediately they will receive the result and they know how to improve themselves in future. And the last one is personalized learning journey. Yeah, of course, everybody wants to personalize the learning journey because learning process from one person to another person is different. And we need to find what are the method of learning for each person and try to make it customized for each person. That's why VR can adapt to individual student needs and preferences, okay? Creating the personalized learning path and ensuring a more engaging experience for them. Yeah, virtual field trips and experimental learning. We are enabled a student to experience virtual field trips to remote location, historical site, or even imaginary worlds, okay? Something that maybe in the real world is impossible, maybe no. Of course, in the real world is impossible, but through the VR, it's possible for a student to send them to some visit, industry visit, maybe location visit in the other countries, and this can be happen. This trip offers immersive and interactive experience that foster a deeper understanding of the world around them. This happens through the explore diverse culture. This is another advantage. The students can visit different countries, experience various culture, and gain insight into the global perspective. And visit the historical site that we already discussed about it, and journey into the space, something that is very good but impossible, and a student can do it through the VR. A student can experience the traveling to the space, exploring the planets, and learn about the other phenomena. Okay, and dive into the ocean deeps. This is also another advantage, that we are provide a safe and immersive way to explore the ocean. But personalized and adaptive of learning experience have some steps. The use of VR in education start with early experiment, and particularly in area requiring a high level of interaction, such as science lab and medical training. As the technology has progressed and become more affordable, we will see a broader adoption of the VR in the future in classroom and training environments, and transferring from a niche tool to a maintain the educational technology will happen in the future. The process that we have for that is adaptive learning, personalized feedback, and interactive assessment. Through these steps, we can go to use the VR and adapt the VR in the education. By the way, VR, as we have mentioned, it's a lot of advantages, but there are some challenges also in VR implementation. Okay, if I want to talk about the challenges that I can highlight is cost and accessibility. As we know that the tools and equipment that we need for VR, like VR glasses, 360 cameras, and for example, sensor gloves or other tools and equipment, they are very costly right now in the market. And for higher education or primary education, buying these tools, maybe even currently, is very costly. This VR implementation in education, that's why we can say that VR implementation in education face many challenges. And addressing these challenges require careful planning and resource allocation, and also ongoing collaboration among educators, technology experts, and researchers. Rather than the cost and accessibility, another area that is challenged is the teacher training and development. Okay, because those that they are going to use these devices and this technology to learn to students, they also need to be trained, and educators need training to effectively integrate the VR into their curriculum, and also use it to enhance their teaching strategies. Also, another challenge is the content development. Okay, and when we're talking about the content development, means that creating the high quality VR educational content that is required expertise in the VR development, in structural design, and also subject matter knowledge. Means that there are some areas together going to design the content, and the quality of this content is very important. And the last one is the privacy and security. When we're talking about the VR, means that we are going to share a lot of data. We are going to trust too much to this system, and the VR system collecting this data on a student's behavior and performance, and raising concern about privacy and data security as well. As long as we are collecting the data from the students, we need to consider that how this data is secure, and we can trust to this system. If I want to say about the future of VR, the VR in education, there are two areas. The future of VR in education is promising, and VR technology continue to adopt and become more accessible, and it will play an increasingly significant role in shaping their learning landscape. And for example, advanced VR experience through the future VR experience will offer even greater realism, immersive and interactively enhance the learning experience. And also in the other word, we are in teacher training. VR will be used to train educators in new teaching methods, providing the immersive professional development opportunity and enhance the pedagogical skills. By this, I would like to just go to the last message that we hold immense potential to transform education, creating more engaging, interactive, and personalized learning experience. And by embracing the VR, educators can equip students with the skill and knowledge needed to thrive in a rapidly evolving world. Yeah, that's all. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope this presentation has provided valuable insight into the role of VR in education. And you can be in touch with me if you would like to discuss this topic further or have any other question. Please feel free to reach out to me via the contact detail, the QR code on the screen. And thank you so much.
It's our pleasure, of course, Professor Dr. Khashai Yazdani. And also there is a question by Dr. Hassan and also Dr. Kambiz Hamadani answered this question. But again, I would like to ask you, based on experience, what contemporary breakthrough does VR effectively work in terms of historical reconstruction?
Sorry, may I ask you to repeat your question?
Yes, sure. Okay, I lost it. Okay, based on experience, what contemporary breakthrough does VR effectively work in terms of historical reconstructions?
Okay, actually, the historical reconstruction means that we know that we have many historical buildings all over the world, okay, that somehow they are not in good situation, they are not accessible, they are already, the structure is not good enough. And through the VR, we can just simulate the same structure again, and we can have the virtual tool to the place. Okay, the place already destroyed, the place already is not there, but through the virtual reality, we can just rebuild, reconstruction that structure and have a tool for the students for learning, or not only for students, for entertainment also. This is possible to use this feature.
Thank you so much. And we have got another question by Dr. Chris. Active learning without VR is not a new idea. However, in my experience, is it still not the predominant approach to learning and teaching for a variety of reasons? Much of teaching is still essentially chalk and talk, and active learning requires more planning of sessions. Will VR help to promote more active learning, do you think?
Okay, in my opinion, okay, active learning is a culture need to add to the education, okay? We are not the only tools that we have for active learning. We need to first practice how we can encourage a student to interact more in the classrooms, okay? How we can encourage more students to participate in the classes, okay? We are as a one tools can help us to do that, okay? But it's not, in my opinion, it's not the only method. First of all, I believe the culture should be goes there, okay, means to education. And when we have this culture in education, then it will be easier for us to adopt the VR. It will be easier. Right now, everybody knows about the AI. AI is coming, and when we have the final exams, all the students go through the AI. and find the answer easily, okay? Then in some professors thinking that, okay, AI is not good for higher education, totally for education, but I believe that we need to find a way to see how we can use AI, how we can add this skill as one useful skill for our students to not only do cheating through the exam, to learn from AI, how to pass the exam better, okay? And I believe that one of the reasons is the culture is not there. AI comes very fast, adopted very fast, but not in correct way. That's why the VR also is the same, and of course can help our education, can improve the education, promote the active learning, but before that, we need to have infrastructure for all of it.
Thank you so much. There's another question by Eddie, Dr. Eddie. Can VR offer practical hands-on experiences in a safe and controlled environment, allowing students to develop and practice skills that are difficult to replicate in traditional classroom settings?
Yes, exactly. This is, as I mentioned, this is one of the benefits of the
Oh, excuse me. Could you please just mute your microphone? Speaker, thank you so much.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier, yes, of course, the VR can do this, okay, can help to have a better hands-on experience and safe hands-on experience. For example, right, somehow through the prototyping, we need to build a prototype. We need to do testing on the prototype. But rather than time-consuming and cost of the prototyping, somehow the prototype is dangerous to test because we are not sure this device will work perfectly, and maybe something's happened during the testing. But when we are using the VR, at least we are sure we are not spending that much time, or we are not spending that much money to build this prototype. And in the other side also, when we are doing the test, we are doing the test virtually, and nothing will happen. Okay, the risk factor will be lower than when we are doing that experiment in the real world.
Thank you. And how can one beat the old traditional method of teaching and the accessibility VR in developing countries' context? Acceptability, sorry, by Olia Vola.
Okay, how can one beat the old traditional method of teaching and accessibility of VR? Actually, if he can explain more what exactly he means by this question.
I think that you can just unmute yourself, Olia Vola, and explain more about your question.
Hello, Prof. Hello, Prof. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, Prof. What I'm trying to ask is the traditional way of teaching, and the introduction of the VR in teaching, or the method to beat it. Because sometimes when you introduce something new in the context of Africa, the techniques in which if you teach something, I would say no. We want it the way we're here. We don't want to add anything to our. Bring something new to us. So what are the techniques in which you can beat the old traditional way of?
You can hear him well?
No, I can't either.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me clearly now, sir?
Yes, for now it's good.
Okay, what I was saying was the traditional way of teaching and the VR is a modern technology. And how can someone apply into the new method of a VR in African context? That's what I'm asking.
Okay, let me.
I think that maybe can we beat the old traditional method? I think of teaching by using VR.
Yeah.
Okay, to address how the virtual reality can serve as the traditional teaching method and its aspect developing the country in developing countries, as you mentioned. We need to consider some points. For example, enhancing engagement and interactivity. This is one of the things. This is a big challenge in the traditional country. The tradition teaching method often rely on lecture and textbook, as we know that, okay? And the VR have disadvantages to offer immersive experience where students can actively participate in simulation and virtual environment. Or if I want to highlight another point is improving the access to resource and experience, okay? The challenge that currently we have in traditional method of teaching is in many developing countries, there is a limited access to high quality education resources, such as the laboratories, field trips, or equipments, okay? And the VR can provide the virtual access to all these resources, and this is another advantage. There are too many other things, like I mentioned, the personalized learning, developing the practical skill and simulation, and some other things that all I think can help we move from the traditional education to some new era of education. Hope I answered your question because I cannot clearly hear you. I tried to just answer as much as I.
Yeah, you did, Prof. You did, Prof. You've answered the question. Thank you so much, Prof. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for your time, Professor Khashayazani. Thank you. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me here. By the way, sorry if I look tired. Here in Malaysia now is 12 a.m. Okay. Thank you so much for having me.
It's understandable.
Okay,
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. For this session, I am honored to introduce Dr. Saeed Kakui. Dr. Saeed Kakui, with 20 years of diverse experiences as an entrepreneur, manager, faculty member, researcher, and engineer, is the founder and president of VWI. With expertise in material science, team leadership, and education, he excels in managing diverse responsibilities. His academic excellence is further evidenced by his authorship of various books available on Amazon. Enhancing his impressive profile is his completion of the management of executive education program in leading organizations for high velocity performance at the MIT Sloan School Management, showcasing his commitment to continuous learning and leadership in high stakes environments. Thank you, Dr. Saeed Kakui.
Thank you, Sahar. Hello, good morning, afternoon, and good night, everyone from all around the world. Can you hear me clearly? Good. First of all, I would like to thank our amazing speakers, Mr. Nick, Prof. Hamedani, Mr. Nihar, Prof. Yazdani, for such an informative and wonderful presentation. I'm excited to welcome you to today's presentation on Virtual World Institute, or VWI, where we are groundbreaking some new boundary in education. As a president of VWI, I'm proud to share with you how we are redefining the learning experience through the power of virtual reality. So please, next slide. So for today's presentation, we have this agenda, introduction. I will talk about our mission, why virtual reality in education, what programs and courses are being offered, global reach, cultural diversity, our achievement, future vision, call to action, and the closing remark. So, first of all, I would like to give you a brief overview of VWI motivation story. During the time that me and my friend, the founder of the VWI, were teaching online, we were struggling to have a interaction and a good communication with the student through the online teaching. And without that, this would not be the future of education. And we knew that the traditional education system will change, but this online teaching didn't give us that feeling that this is the future of education. Then we had a chance to practice, play with the VR headset and have a communication, have a meeting with our friends. And then we thought, okay, that's the way that the education would be changed. The VR will bridge to fill the gap between the traditional and online teaching. So we decided to establish our nonprofit organization, and is registered in Indiana, USA. And VWI has officially been recognized after several months, follow up with the governmental bodies by IRS as a tax-exempt organization, both federal and state, under the section of 501c3 of Internal Revenue Code. So VWI are open to collaborate with any VR company to get the governmental grants. If you are a VR company inside the US and you have some idea to develop some software, hardware for virtual reality, you can collaborate with VWI, because for SBIR and STTR grant, you need an institute by your side. And you know that the traditional education or those other universities are still resisting against VR. So we are here to help you. And please go next slide. So our mission actually, at VWI is very clear, is to empower learners worldwide through the immersive virtual reality education. We foster industry and education collaboration, integrate VR seamlessly into the educational setting, and enhance VR education through the research and development. Our commitment extends to advancing VR technology and product, positioning ourselves as a global leader in VR-enabled education. We are not a VR developer, and there are amazing companies. Just this morning, they had a presentation. So we will bring this product to the customer and we certify them. So this is our role. We are, as I mentioned, we are building a bridge between this content creator and the user. Please, next one. So why we are in education? This would be a question that each of you can ask yourself. So Professor Yazdani actually described this part deeply, so I just summarize it. I don't talk too much about this, but to give you a summarize, virtual reality offers transformative potential in education. It goes beyond geographical boundaries, allowing a student from diverse background to access quality education. Virtual reality also enhances experiential learning, enabling a student to engage with the materials in a way that is both collaborative and deeply immersive. It also gives a safe environment to students to practice and learn as long as they want, because there is no extra cost for them. You just imagine if someone wants to repeat an experiment in the lab, they have to spend a lot of money, time, and the resources should be dedicated to that experiment. But in virtual reality, as Prof. Yazdani mentioned, you can do the experiment so many times. As Prof. Hamedani shows with the VR hands-on tools that his company developed, you can repeat the experiment so many times and in a safe environment. So there is no worry about that. Please, next one. And about the program and courses that we are offer or we are planning to offer at VWI, we offer a range of programs designed to meet the demands of today's digital economy, from the Master and PhD programs to professional certification and micro-credential. Our curriculum is designed to integrate VR into every aspect of learning, preparing our students for success in their respective fields. So we don't have any limitation. We are trying to get the accreditation from the Department of Education from the US, and also we are communicating and collaborating with so many partners to develop the programs and courses for a student and for trainees. And a good point of VR, as I mentioned, is global reach and cultural diversity. So we take pride in our multicultural environment at VWI. Even for our board of trustees, we have distinguished professors from all around the world in our board of trustees. And thanks to this metaverse and VR environment, our students will come from all around the world, contributing to a rich blend of perspective and ideas. The diversity not only enhances the learning experience, but also prepare our students for a globalized workforce. And if I want to talk about the achievements, since we are in anniversary of our establishment, since our founding, we have achieved significant milestones. I'm pleased to share with you the significant achievements we have made over the past year. First and foremost, we have dedicated over 200 hours to internal board meetings. So you can see some pictures that I have shared in the slides. So those are from our meetings. These meetings have been a boost up in developing our mission, vision, programs, as well as in preparing crucial governmental documentation to be accredited. This extensive effort has laid the foundation for our future growth. We have also maintained regular and follow-up meetings with our partners to establish a memorandum of understanding for collaboration. So you have seen some of our partners that attended today, and they had a speech. So these MOUs are key to fostering a strong, mutually beneficial relationship that will help us achieve our collective goals. In our commitment to innovation and progress, we have been actively bridging the gap between the customer and VR developer, both locally and internationally. This initiative is crucial in ensuring that our services meet the needs of our diverse clients and that we remain at the forefront of the technological advancement. I'm also proud to announce that we have successfully obtained the tax exemption, as I mentioned, for both federal and state. And this achievement will let us to allocate more resources toward our mission-driven projects. Additionally, we have embarked on several collaborative projects with our local international partners. These collaborations are essential in expanding our reach and impact, allowing us to leverage diverse expertise and resources. And finally, I'm delighted to share that we have issued more than hundreds of certificates to individuals who have successfully completed our VR courses that you can find on our website. These certifications are a testament of the quality of our training programs and dedication for our participants. Thank you all for your continued support and commitment to our mission. Together, we are making remarkable progress, and I'm excited for the journey ahead. And for future vision, can you please do next slide? Okay, for future vision, we are looking ahead. We are excited about the future of VWI. We are expanding programs, embracing new technologies, and forming a strategic partnership to enhance our offering. Our goal remains to lead in the VR-based education. So we are working toward accreditation by US Department of Education, and we are focused on supporting international students through this advancement. We are also planning to open international sites in low-income countries, bringing the education to the metaverse. So finally, our vision is education without border, making dreams come true for a student everywhere. And for call to action, I would like to invite all of you to join us on this exciting journey, whether you are a prospective student, a potential partner, or simply someone interested in the future of education. VWI offers opportunities for growth, learning, and collaboration. Please visit our website and our social media page to learn more about how you can be a part of this revolution. And as a closing remark, thank you for your time and attention today. We are at the top of something truly transformative in education. And I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to share our vision with you. I would like to give the floor to our MC for the next speaker from SIMS. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saeed Kakuri, for your presentation. So I can't see any questions. If you have got any questions, please ask. Okay, thank you so much. Now for the last session, I'm honored to introduce Professor Alexandra, who is social scientist specializing in security studies. She holds master degrees in international relations and in philosophy. She earned her PhD in 2019 based on dissertation about customer orientation and improvement of services of the Polish police. From 2016 until 2021, she worked as an assistant professor at the State University of Applied Science in Poland, teaching both security professionals, policemen, prison and border guards, soldiers and civilians. From 2022 to 2024, she worked as researcher at the American Institute of Applied Sciences in Switzerland, building research capacities of the school. In May 2024, she became a chancellor of Swiss Institute of Management and Sciences. Beyond academia, her professional experience includes anti-money laundering and paralegal services for businesses. She also served as United Nations Junior Legal Expert in Poland in 2021. I will invite Professor Alexander for a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. I hope you can hear me. Dear attendees, our co-hosts and splendid guests, I am proud to represent the Swiss Institute of Management and Sciences today. This is the institution that from the very start embraced the educational innovation. We did it prior to VR, we believe with success, and we want to also continue using these new technologies. So I just want to say a few words about ourselves, our institution, as a co-host together with obviously the respected virtual institute of today's workshop. So as it has already been said, Swiss Institute of Management and Sciences is a private higher education institution established in Zug in accordance with Swiss law. We are therefore not a part of the Swiss public education sector, but we base our recognition on other reputable accreditations, both institutional and programmatic, as well as on numerous partnerships with universities from Europe and from around the world, and on mutual recognitions. This provides us with the infrastructure so we can carry out for our students what's in the heart of our mission and our guiding principle really, which is flat education. But what does flat education mean? It stands for a borderless connection between various educational systems across the globe. Using a metaphor, you can think of this as a bridge, one that spans continents, cultures, and disciplines, creating a fulcrum that provides the most stable foundation for students to interact, learn from, and grow with each other. This is not simply, in our opinion, about making education accessible. It's about creating a global community of learners where knowledge flow freely and learning knows no boundaries. So how does it work in practice nowadays? Flat education means that a student is able to complete his program, spending every year of, let's say, a bachelor program in another campus. In this way, he is not only able to continue his educational pathway without being worried about transferring credits. At the same time, we promote travel and adaptation, openness to other cultures and languages, and really a global perspective on learning, business, and life. To enable even broader accessibility to higher education, we also have an online mode of studying. We strongly believe that in a world where technology and innovation continuously reshapes our lives, education must not only keep pace, but lead the way. era where the boundaries between the digital and the physical worlds are increasingly blurred. In our opinion, this presents us with an extraordinary opportunity to rethink how education is delivered, experienced, and valued. This is why our collaboration with the Virtual Institute is so significant. The Virtual Institute is not just another partner. This is an institution that shares our vision for the future of education. We believe we are not merely adopting new technologies, we are creating immersive and interactive virtual spaces where students can learn, interact, and thrive, much like they would in the real world. We believe this is the future of education, where virtual spaces complement traditional on-campus experiences. While we recognize that this model may not entirely replace the need for physical campuses, it offers a powerful alternative that can greatly enhance accessibility and collaboration. Future generations will likely adapt to this blended approach with ease, combining the best of both worlds, physical and virtual, to create a more flexible, inclusive, and dynamic educational experience. We offer education on every level, from pre-university, undergraduate, postgraduate, and doctorate, as well as executive programs. I would like to concentrate a little bit on our pre-university program, also called Foundation Program, which are preparatory courses, summer programs, and early college programs that enable future students to master discipline-specific skills, as well as English language, so they can easily enter an undergraduate program at SIMS or in other universities. These classes are indeed entirely virtual classes, led in a virtual environment. We entered into collaboration with the Virtual Institute. Students can use VR headsets provided by the Virtual Institute so they can learn and play together. Looking ahead, our strategic approach is deeply rooted in our collaboration with the Virtual Institute. Together, we are working to develop innovative, engaging classes and materials that will not only enhance the learning experience for our current students, but also set a new standard for future generations. This partnership is about more than just content delivery. It's about creating a dynamic, interactive learning environment that mirrors the complexities and opportunities of the real world. And that's why we are very happy to co-host today's webinar together with the Virtual Institutes. We are excited about the possibilities this collaboration opens up for us, which is yet again breaking down barriers and expanding the horizons of learning. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Professor Alexandra, for your speech. As a closing remarks, I would like to thank you all for participation in today's webinar. Many thanks for presenting virtual reality, a new frontier for mental health in schools, workplaces, and healthcare by Mr. Nick Butieta. Greatly appreciated for introducing hands-on virtual reality labs in higher education, physical and life science training by Dr. Professor Hamedani. Also, with thanks to Mr. Niha for his speech about the products and strategic alliances, also IXR Labs. Many thanks to Professor Dr. Yazdani and Dr. Kakui for their presentations about the future of VR in education, step into the future by exploring the Virtual World Institute and its mission. And finally, with thanks to Professor Alexandra, SIMS Chancellor, for her presentation about the future of education in Switzerland. Just to find out more, you can visit VWI and SIMS websites written on chat. Thank you so much for your participation again.
May I ask everyone to open your camera and we have a group photo if possible.
Dear Sahar, I would also like to ask your email in chat because I think Dr. Janet Sherman is asking your email. So I would be happy if you could share your email address there as well.
Okay, for sure.
Thank you.
I will do
Thank
that
you.
now.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are waiting for everyone to open your camera to have a group photo. I think we need to have a two group photo maybe, or you know, all of, yeah, okay. Mr. Jaffer, will you do that?
I was muted. Yes, I think there are going to be two of them. Yes. This is going to be the first one. And on the second page, we have also some people there. So thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for this sitting 3 hours for this webinar. Thank you so much. Have
Our
a good
pleasure.
day, night, morning.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. So the event is ending today, so have a nice day.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.